Hola chicos, hoy vamos a practicar un poco más con el pretérito y el imperfecto. Before we get started, let's go ahead and review when we use the preterite, when we use the imperfect, and when we're going to be using them together. So, we are going to be using the preterite tense to describe an action or a series of actions completed in the past. A lot of times these actions will have specific beginning, ending, or duration times. You will often see words like ayer, anteayer, anoche. You'll see words like that associated with the preterite. We're going to be using the imperfect tense for ongoing actions or states of being in the past without focusing on their beginning or end. Always use the imperfect to say what time it was or what the weather was like in the past. A lot of times we can think of the imperfect as being the tense we're going to use when we are setting the scene and giving all the background information to what was going on. Think about this in English being like, I used to swim, or I would always go swimming. Things that happened a lot, not just a specific action. A lot of times we actually are going to use the imperfect and the preterite in the exact same sentence. When this occurs, you want to use the imperfect to tell what was going on in the background, and then you're going to use the preterite for the interrupting action or main event. It's really important that you have a basic understanding of when to use the preterite and when to use the imperfect, so that way when you use them together in a sentence, you do so correctly. Before we get started with our guided practice today, I just wanted to show you really quickly where you can get additional practice on your own if you think you need it. You can see that I am on the online textbook webpage. Up here at the top, I have chosen Unidad 1, Lección 2. I've chosen the Gramática tab, but then I ended up having to go to page 68 because page 68 is when we talk about the preterite versus the imperfect. Down here at the bottom, I have additional activities. If I click on A, B, or C, together we are going to be doing some of the home tutor additional activities, but then right here where you see this little globe that says Conjuguemos, go ahead and click on that and it will take you to the website conjuguemos.com, where they actually have created specific activities that coincide with our textbook. Sometimes when you click on the Conjuguemos globe, it'll take you directly to the page that you want to be. This is the page I want to be at, Avancemos 3. I want to be at Unit 1, Lesson 2, Cumulative. If for some reason it takes you to a page that lets you choose between like Avancemos 1, 2, y 3, pick 3, and then it'll take you to this page, but you'll want to make sure that from the drop-down menu you choose Unidad 1, Lesson 2, Cumulative. So we're where we want to be. Down here, I probably don't want to practice present or present progressive because that's not something that's going to be on the quiz or test. So I'm going to choose imperfect or preterite. Let's go with imperfect for now. Over here, yeah, I think I want to be able to do all these verbs, especially if you would have chosen preterite. You got a good amount of irregulars in here, so this is a good activity. And I'm going to choose all but vosotros because I know on a quiz or test I won't be tested on that. And over here I can say if I'd like to be timed. I get really stressed out when I have a time limit, so I'm just going to click no. Maybe when I get really good at conjugating, then I'll time myself to increase my speed. So I go over here and I click start. It gives me the verb, how they want it conjugated, and in what tense. So I'm going to put, oops, wrong letter, contaban. I click am I correct, and up here it tells me I am correct. Awesome! Next verb, I'm going to do this one wrong on purpose, just to see what it's going to show me when I'm incorrect. It tells me that I'm incorrect, and it gives me the correct answer. If for some reason also you would have a verb chosen that you would need to add an accent, let's see if we can get one coming up. Okay, got it right. Good thing I'm a Spanish teacher. Haha. Oops. Here we go. I'm hoping they'll give me one with a, here we go. This is a verb with an accent. So I type the I, then I hit accent, and it puts an accent on there for me. So again, you'll want to hit accent after you type the letter. Pues ahora vamos a practicar juntos. Vamos a empezar con esta actividad aquí, los cruceros memorables. Cambia, change, los verbos entre paréntesis del pretérito al imperfecto. So this is a great activity because you have to look at the verb, recognize that it's in the preterite, think about what its infinitive is, and then you're going to be rewriting the verb in the imperfect tense. Go ahead and pause the video at this time while you complete the activity, and then we will check our answers together. Ok, vamos a checar nuestras respuestas ahora. Número 1, la señora Beltrán hizo las reservaciones. I knew that hizo was an irregular form of the verb hacer in the preterite, and my new answer in the imperfect is hacía. Make sure you remember that accent. Número 2. Las amigas compraron trajes de baños para el viaje. My new answer is compraban. Número 3. Nosotras nadamos en el mar cerca de las islas. My new answer is nadábamos in the imperfect. Make sure you remember that accent. Número 4. Los cruceros fueron muy divertidos. Now, fueron's a toughie, because remember, ir and ser are both irregular in the preterite. They are my gemelos because they are the exact same. So I had to use context clues to figure out if this fueron was referring to ir or ser. I noticed that it had the word divertido in the sentence, which is an adjective, so then I knew it was going to be the verb ser, which in the imperfect is eran. Y número 5, yo miré las fotos de las amigas, miré became miraba in the imperfect. Were those the same answers you got? Muy bien. Ahora vamos a hacer práctica 3, los hábitos de David. Necesitas decidir si las oraciones describan una actividad que hizo David una vez o una actividad que hacía frecuentemente. So, what we want to do is we want to decide if it's an activity he only did once or if it's an activity he did often. And how are we going to decide that? By looking at the verb and deciding if it's in the preterite or the imperfect. So, why don't we go ahead and pause the video at this time so you can complete this activity. Ok, vamos a checar nuestras respuestas. David se juntaba con su familia en la playa. I noticed my aba ending and I knew it had to be imperfect, so I picked frecuentemente. David y su madrina acamparon en el bosque. I noticed an aron ending, and so I remembered that that was preterite, and I picked una vez. David y yo remábamos canoas. I got my ábamos ending. Again, it's one of those aba endings. Gotta be imperfect. I picked frecuentemente. David vio la puesta del sol in Hawaii. Vio is ver in the preterite, which is irregular. Remember, dar and ver are the rhymers. I picked una vez. Y David y su bisabuelo viajaron en casa rodante. Again, I got one of those aron endings, which is definitely preterite. Hopefully you got the same answers as me. Ahora tenemos práctica 4, la niñez, the childhood, de Claudia. Vamos a emparejar, match up, elementos de las dos columnas para describir la niñez de Claudia. So for this activity, it might be a little bit tough for you, because on the left, we want to think about the context of the beginning of the sentence. What are they saying? But we also want to see, does that part in column 1 include imperfect type words, like siempre or todos los días, or does it include preterite type words, like anoche or ayer? So go ahead and pause the video at this time so you can match up the answers from both columns. Ok, ahora vamos a checar nuestras respuestas. Todos los días durante el año escolar. So todos los días reminded me that this, whatever I'm looking for in the second part, is going to be in the imperfect. And then it says something about the school year. So I see over here in this one, I got an imperfect verb. Awesome. And it says something about homework. Una vez durante el invierno. Una vez, one time. I'm definitely going to be looking for something in the preterite. And invierno's winter, so I'm going to be looking for something to do with wintertime, being cold, maybe a winter activity. Oh, look right here, I got skiing. And my verb's in the preterite, I got an aron ending. Awesome. En la playa, Claudia siempre. Siempre. That's a big hint that I'm probably looking for an imperfect verb. And it's going to be something to do with being on the beach. Uh-oh, up here, look, found it. I got something to do with swimming and picking up shells, and awesome. Both of my verbs are in the imperfect. Un día en el bosque. One day in the forest. Okay, well, one day right here, big hint that I need preterite. What would you do in the forest? Oh, you might see a snake. And my verb is in the preterite. Awesome. And I'm only left with these two, which you probably figured have gone together, but let's talk about the reason why. Los maestros decían que Claudia era una niña simpática y generosa. I picked this because this is in the imperfect, what the teachers used to say, and they would probably say that she was a nice and generous girl. Were those the same answers you got? Muy bien. Ahora en esta práctica el bisabuelo de Julián le cuenta sobre su vida. So Julián's great-grandfather is going to be talking about his life. Necesitamos elegir, choose, la forma apropiada del verbo pretérito o imperfecto para completar las oraciones. So we need to think about the context of the sentence and decide if we want to do preterite or imperfect. Go ahead and pause the video at this time so you can complete this activity. Vamos a checar nuestras respuestas. You can see that 1 through 3 I picked imperfect verbs because Julián's great-grandfather was talking about how things always used to be, what he was like, the activities that he used to do. But then 4 and 5 were in the preterite because it was talking about a specific event that occurred when he fell playing soccer and he had to go to the hospital and what the doctor said. Those are really specific events and actions, so that's why I use the preterite. La última actividad, vamos a practicar con el pretérito y el imperfecto un poco más. En las siguientes situaciones vas a conjugar uno de los verbos en el imperfecto y el otro en el pretérito. This is an awesome activity because we know in each sentence that there's going to be one imperfect and one preterite, but we have to decide which is going to be in the imperfect and which is going to be in the preterite. So think about what we talked about at the beginning of this video for when you're using the two together, the rules for that. Go ahead and pause the video at this time so you can complete the activity. Ok, ahora vamos a checar nuestras respuestas de esta actividad. Número 1. Hacía un calor agobiante, por eso nosotros decidimos refrescarnos en el agua. I picked imperfect for hacía because I'm kind of setting the scene. I'm talking about what was going on. It was really hot. And then because of that, we decided to get in the water. So, deciding something is a specific action, and it's also the event that occurred due to the heat. Número 2. Los estudiantes vieron unos veleros en el mar cuando iban a la escuela en autobús. So this is a great sentence because it shows that the imperfect doesn't always have to come first, because while they were going to school, what was going on, they saw some sailboats in the ocean. So that's my specific action. Número 3. Eran las 8 de la noche. I used imperfect for eran because I always do that with time in the past. Cuando tú encontraste ese caracol bonito, finding a really pretty shell is a very specific action. It's what occurred while it was 8 o'clock. So I used the preterite. Y número 4, los suegros de Mariana merendaron en la cubierta del barco porque tenían mucha hambre. Another great example of how the imperfect doesn't have to always come first. They were hungry. That's what was going on. While they were busy being really, really hungry, they had a snack out on the deck of the boat. And that was the event that occurred. Hopefully you got the same answers that I did.